Hello, future viewers. As the title suggests, you are now watching the final video of Shining Force CD, Book 2, Sword of Haja. This map is actually fairly complicated by Shining Force standards. We have a couple of little iome things that we're going to weaken so Natasha can get some experience from them. But they are fairly tough, they take a lot of hits, and they do use mini demon breath. I say mini, but that damage, it's roughly the same damage as a full demon breath in this game. Which is pretty rare, actually. Can't think of another game in the series off the top of my head where that's the case. Anyway, I bought some healing seeds. I actually bought a whole lot of healing seeds. I did this so that Sarah would be able to conserve her MP for Aura, which I might need a lot of. To the left and right are these Iom doll enemies that love their freeze too, but that's not really the most threatening thing about them. No. The most threatening thing about them is that they respawn infinitely if their tile is not occupied. And a little bit more about that when I get there. Also, to preserve another set of important MP, Natasha is using spellcasting rings to get that experience. We are going to need her MP for later. On the right side is another Iom doll, and also this evil bishop. And it's very important to kill this evil bishop between its one turn and another, because if you let it move, and it thinks that something needs healing, well, that thing carries a healing rain that it drops. But it can also use the healing rain. We don't want that. We need that thing. So, very important to kill that evil bishop quickly. Also, the fact that I can just use these lightsabers to cast tree spells is kinda handy for weakening enemies. But moving Nick there freed this up, and Jaha got killed by a freaking magic crit. And actually we get 2 magic crits here. I suspect that enemies on this map have a high rate of double attacking crit hits and counterattacks. Anyway, the reinforcement tile. You just saw Eric step on one of them. It wasn't the tile that was kind of marked with special terrain, it was the tile below it, which is a really nasty trick. Fortunately, I know about the trick, because, yeah, if I didn't, there would be, let's say, more trouble. And Rush goes over to occupy the other tile. And I made sure that both of those characters are carrying Healing Rain, because, well, first of all, they will have nothing else to do standing on those tiles, and also they will not be in danger of getting killed and thus losing the Healing Rain before I can use them. That would be also very bad. And there we go! I was not sure if I could get the attack spell, and I knew that I needed it, because Iom is something else. I've heard it described as the toughest boss in the Shining Force series, which doesn't sound like much given the series, but if you played Shining Force 2, you know that's actually a fairly strong claim. Anyway, Nick has to attack Iom first to free him up, and Iom, of course, has full strength Demon Breath. Full range, of course, as well. But the thing about Iom that makes him especially dangerous is that he's very tough. He has boss defense, and he's standing on a plus 25 defense tile. I don't know why lava gives 25%. It's the only tile in the game that does that. And it's not even the highest value. There's plenty of 30% stuff around. Oh well. Also, it's very handy to have Claude be able to attack because, as you saw, melee space is at a premium here. And I was especially lucky to get a couple of double attacks here. I do not expect Claude to last very long because Iom, of course, hits very hard physically, and also he did something I did not expect here. Yeah, that's 2 Demon Breaths in a row. I didn't know that the boss design could work that way. I can only guess that it kind of missed its melee turn, then got a Demon Breath turn, and then another Demon Breath turn, and the next one was melee. Or something like that. Anyway, it was very bad news for me. Once again, my Valkyrie user got killed off before he could do much good. Oh well. And that was especially nasty because, as I said, attacking spaces are at a premium. However, those two tiles, one directly to the left and one to the right, are going to be the Dark God Iam's undoing, because this formation is very stable. Even the full Demon Breath only has enough range to hit one of them at a time. Yeah, the AoE is not quite big enough. And Sarah can heal Luke from here. So, I've cast attack up on the archers and on Luke, and you just saw how hard Luke hits this guy. It's like a freaking truck, especially because the attack spell is very, very potent on Luke. He gets most of his strength from raw stats. And attack up is a percentage thing. So hooray for that. He starts with 300 health, so as you can see, he's at less than a third now. And hooray! So we got a strategy that works reasonably well. At the time, I thought this was big trouble because obviously Luke is vulnerable after that, but thinking about it again, 28 health is probably enough to be killed by Demon Breath anyway, so either way, here's a rare heal 3. I needed a bursty single target, and, well, we've got an interesting situation here. Iom is at low health, and Diana can use that sword the way Deathwell helpfully showed us, so yeah, I guess this is appropriate enough. Using the the shining sword to beat the last bad guy, and there it is. There's also a very low-risk way to do it, since magic doesn't miss and all. Also, I forgot to mention, but the final soundtrack for the last map was not bad. Especially considering that the Game Gear, well, space is at a premium, but they still took the time to add that last soundtrack, so not bad. Someone's calling you up to heaven, aren't they? Or the opposite of that. That works too. It's a little unclear what exactly happened. It seemed like Borderer was kind of channeling Iom, and I'm not sure if that was actually the full thing there. I'm gonna guess not, because we see what an actual Demon Lord is like in Shining Force 2, and it's more severe than that. Also, this seems like an odd circumstance for that upbeat music, considering what they're talking about. Yeah, I wouldn't go looking around in that stuff if I were you. Well, normally I'd say that's a little odd, but considering that this place was built on lava, lava is not a very good foundation for buildings, so yes, I will actually believe that. Also, no, my brother, who I pretty much never met. Well, okay, fine, I guess I'll go a little bit easy on that. But I feel like it would be easier to sell this if there was some time to show the main character interacting with everyone else to actually show how they became friends over this whole thing. That's one of the reasons I don't really like silent protagonists. I mean, it's possible to do it well, but I don't think this game does it. Well, now that everyone's promoted, I suspect that the sword is at least perfectly safe now, but who exactly are they guarding the castle from at this point? Oh, turning her back on the whole thing, huh? Well, where does Diana want to go, anyway? I don't think that's ever really established. I guess this is just kind of a trope of the hero going off for new adventures after everything is done. But it feels a little bit different when doing so leaves a lot of important people behind. It feels a bit less responsible when that's the case. Oh yeah, Gianna was always, talking to everyone, saying encouraging things, helping them to develop themselves, and I don't know, I'm just kind of making stuff up. Yeah, this is a bond of destiny. They both have the egress spell. They can never be apart when they have something like that in common. I mean, it's not like Gianna is going to say anything. Even in the ending cutscene, they can't give Gianna any kind of real lines. That is weird. It works for Ys. Well, it works for Ys for a few reasons. For one thing, it says stuff like, Adol explains his situation to this character, and also it's implied to be well, okay, I'm going a little off topic here.
True peace once again was restored to Cyprus, and they left Cyprus for a journey into the new frontier.
Well, do we learn anything about the new frontier when Diana and Natasha come back? Spoiler, no they don't. What those two did while they were out there is not important to the greater story at all. And now we got credits. So, final thoughts about Shining Force CD. And I say that even though I haven't played all of it, but you'll see why. So book one was not good. There are a couple of conventions about it that I enjoyed, such as archers being useful, and others that I did not enjoy, such as mages not being useful. The plot was it was basically not there. There were some okay maps. And then there were some Shining Force 1 outdoor maps. Overall, would not recommend. Book 2 is kind of a different story. They did some more creative stuff, which I appreciated. They fixed the outdoor maps so that they were not tedious. That's a big step forward. They turned up the challenge, especially in the early game, although they failed to keep the challenge later on. But I hesitate to grade the game too harshly for that, because that's a very common problem. Oh, of course they had to show Jaha doing something goofy. I've encountered this with many games which can have variable progression. By that I mean you could be doing very well or very poorly by the end game, and they have to make it beatable, even if you aren't doing so great. So if you actually are handling things well, then there could be problems. And in that regard, I actually think that Book 2 is kind of okay. There are a handful of maps that get too easy later on, but they kind of also make up for it, because I was taking casualties with the last, say, 2 or 3 maps. There was still essentially, I don't want to say no plot whatsoever, but it was missing a lot. I think Shining Force, more than any other game that I've played, suffers from the lack of towns where you interact with people, because that's where a lot of the character of Shining Force comes through. And from a video perspective, well, it makes watching the series more interesting too. Like, I think this would have been more... Anyway, actually, I can talk about the rest some other time. Because now we're going to take a look at the start of Book 3. This is Prince Nick's coronation as king, except apparently someone objects to this. Of course, absolutely everyone moves out of the way of the new bad guys. And I think that the translators may have given up at this point, because things are a little less clean than we've seen earlier. Now, this setup may look a little bit familiar. And if it doesn't, don't worry, I'll spell it out when it becomes really obvious. Yeah, it's Book 1 all over again. The bad guys push in, do something not good to Anri, and we have to go solve the problem. Nope, not gonna do that. I'm gonna stop by Berwick Saga for just a little bit, and then we are playing Battle Engine Aquila. See you then.